Here we are in Fusion. I will use the EXR files from the promo video because I didn't have time to wait for the renders from the last video to finish. It should be almost the same thing. We have some EXR sequence. I will drag and drop it to Fusion. And if I just drag it here in the viewport, we should see something like this. Actually, this is a small error from Redshift because it's rendering an alpha also in the background light. But yeah, we can fix that. So if we scroll around frame 140, we can see the background, the sphere, the primitives, the energy inside. But as you can see right now, the colors are all messed up. That's because of ACES. So Redshift renders everything in ACES CG if we have that OCIO config. And in order to view this properly, we just need to add a OCIO config file as we did with the HDRI. In order to do that, I need to enable this. This is a LUT enable, and then I need to go to OCIO color space view LUT, and then I go to edit. Here I hit browse and go to ACES 103 and hit the config file. So now what we need to do is grab on the top we have ACES CG, so this is the input space, and next we want to view it as an output sRGB, like we did in Redshift. Remember, we had sRGB ACES. It was called there, but it's the same thing. So right now you can see it starts to look very similar to what we had in Redshift. You can see the ring light and the sphere and everything. I think this one had another noise bump over it, but you will have the source files anyway, and you can have a look there, but it's pretty similar to what we've done so far. So remember that we also set up some passes, so let's dive into them and see how we can extract them out. In Fusion, render passes are stored here. This is Fusion 16, it's similar to Fusion 9. So if you select red, you see we have a lot of passes that we set up inside of Redshift. On the previous version that I did, I also set up some volume AOV, but it's empty. And also, okay, so let's start recreating this image from passes. First of all, I would just need to extract, let's say, the specular, the reflection, refractions, and everything. I'll just fast forward this. So I just need to put every channel. So R, specular G, and specular B. So now we have just the specular with alpha and everything. So I just hit F2 and rename this specular. Sometimes it doesn't work. So then I just copy this and paste it again. And do refractions. So we are back. We have here the specular, the refractions, reflections, emission. You can see also the background is on emission because it's a light basically. Then we have the background light itself. We have the normals and the puzzle matte. Remember we set up red, green and blue. So now let's try to add those together. We use a boolean. It has the add mode. So we just need to add everything together here. And now as you can see, everything is looking good except for the background. We need to fix that. It's mainly because there are two layers that have the background. So one is the emission and the other one is the background light. I think we can just grab the alpha from here because this pass has also alpha, and we need to use another boolean for that. Plug this into the channel boolean. And what we can do is say alpha for everything. So if we have a view, we see there's actually an alpha channel. So it looks like this. What we can also do, we can drop down a wireless node, and hopefully if the naming works, we will rename this alpha, drag that boolean there. So this way we don't have to copy those two nodes everywhere. It's just like a wireless link. So we just need to command or Control C and Control Shift V, and then we can paste an instance of this alpha here. So now what I need to do is just plug this into the background mask, and I hope it works. So you see if I erase it, you see it adds up and it becomes a lot more brighter. And if I put it in this mask, what I do is I just take out the emission from this layer entirely. So now it doesn't have any background emission, and we just add the background. And for the background, I can do a merge and use a background, not like this, a black background, and use it. This one should be the background, and this one should be the foreground. And of course, the issue here was that it has alpha and it didn't have any black background. So right now we reconstructed the background back, and if we put everything together, now it should look a lot better. So you can see we reconstructed the images from those passes. What I can also do to organize things is to add for the flow tab, I can add an underlay and just make it bigger. Fusion is not so good at handling nodes compared to Houdini. And also I need to move this around a bit and maybe change the color like this. And these are mostly some utility nodes, let's say. Also, I can use a wireless link here, and this would be the normals. I just plug it into here. Let's save it. And now let's do some color corrections and add some glows and everything. So what I like to do is to add a saver. This is used just to save the sequence. Let's go on desktop and we can just say fear.mov. This way we save a MOV file. We can also go with sequence of EXRs, and then we just plug this into the saver. So we have a straight line where we can plug things in. So before doing this, I really need to put an OCI core space node. What happens here is that this is just for previewing this lot. So if we were to save now, even if this is enabled, what it will save, it will be this image, because this is not, it's just for viewing, it's not applied into the final frame. I just like to do it show it like a tile picture. And now going back to the ACES 103 and convert this from ACES CG to output sRGB. Now if we have a look at this layer and disable the lot, it should be the same. So this is just for converting ACES to sRGB before saving everything. And now let's see what we want to do. We maybe want to control the background a bit. So I would add another merge, because I just think that darks are too dark and maybe also the highlights are too bright. So then I can just use a background, maybe a 50% gray or something. Maybe I need also the alpha here. So I use an effect mask. And of course I need a Boolean to invert this. Negative. Now I just have this gray background over our AZR, and I can blend this. So what happens, unifies somehow the darks and the whites. Of course it's too washed out right now, and also let's make some space over here. And now what I can do is I can further control this maybe with a color corrector. And here I just have a lot of control, so I can change the gamma, I can change the gain, I also have levels, exactly like in Photoshop. And this gray just helps to unify everything. And now I can just tweak the entire exposure. Yeah, I think also it's important to change the background from integer to float. So we can do that by going here. And now it looks a bit better. Maybe we can also add some grain over the background, not here, just to get rid of some banding around. So I just move the power down and also the grain size. So yeah, I think now it looks a lot better. Also I can desaturate the image a bit and move it a bit to the blue. Yeah, something like this. And now I would like to add a glow. So we have a node for that. Called glow, obviously. And what I can do is just use this. This is the emission. You can check it out over here. So from the emission, we want to add a glow, of course, and we can just drag a wire over here, or we can add another wires node, but it's kind of the same thing. And I just use another merge. So now using this merge, I will merge this glow. Let's make it a bit bigger. I will merge it with the entire scene. So just like adding a layer overlay, and I need to change this to screen. So now you see we have, this was before and this is after. So we have a glowing effect of the sphere. Also I can tweak this. And of course, if I don't like the effect so much, I can just blend it out. So it's just a tiny bit there. Okay, so this is for the glow. I can also do some color corrections on some parts of the image. Maybe I just want to use this puzzle mat to do some color corrections on the lines. So I can just do that by dropping another wireless maybe, and I see here puzzle. So I put this inside and reference copy this again and plug it into here. So right now it's the same puzzle mat, but if I put down a bitmap, this bitmap node, it's a nice trick, or maybe let's go with the channel boolean. What it can do, I can say in the alpha, use the blue. And for this one, do nothing. So now, right now, if you have a look at the alpha, it's only the blue. And here, if we have a look at the color corrector node, you see that right now I can control only the lines. So I can raise up the gamma, go into the levels, and maybe change a bit the contrast and also the punch of everything. So make it really pop out. So this should be for the, for the energy inside. And then maybe we want to control a bit the light emitted by the primitives. So we have a puzzle net for that also. We put another boolean. Oh yeah, maybe we can just use this one. So we can use Alt and click, and then it will ask us where we want to input this. So we want to use background for now, and this is the color. So the primitives are green. So now we say green. And if we have a look at the alpha, you see it's affecting only the primitives. So let's do another color correct. We put it here, and the blue one is the mask. And now we can, you see, we can color correct the primitives. Of course, they have also some alpha there, but we can just go with the levels and do some small adjustments. Just another contrast. And I think we can also change something about the sphere itself. So we have 240 frames here. This is the range. And now I think the sphere needs a bit of contrast. So again, a channel boolean, put this inside, and remember the sphere is red. So we say here red background, a color corrector again. We put this into the mask, and now we can color correct this. So again, the levels. I like this because it's similar to Photoshop, so I can really bump up the contrast a bit here. And what's nice about ACES is that if we check out the highlights, you see it's keeping, it's trying to keep everything under one, so we don't have clipped areas. So that's really nice. So maybe something like this. Okay, and I think now we can just use an overall color correction. Maybe we put this here, and now we can just make some color corrections on the shadow and just go into the blue side of things, midtones. Yeah, we also need to see it, of course. So going back to shadows, midtones can be more warmer, let's say, and the highlights, let's make them blue. And just a final touch, I can add a chroma fuse. That's actually an extra plugin that you can get. And I prefer to put this after the OCIO color space transform. And what this does, it tries to mimic some chromatic aberration. So it should be really low. Maybe this is too low. Okay, you should see it here, maybe. Yeah, so this is without and this is with. Maybe go with 0.05. So yeah. And also we can add a vignette. That's really easy. We do a merge. We can do it all after the OCIO color space transform. We use a background. We plug it into the merge, and then we just create an ellipse, but we place it in the merge mask. So now we invert it and make a soft edge and try to change the width. And now in the merge, we just change the blend. So This is width, without, and width. Okay. I just think that this energy is too bright. So this is the final compositing. Not really much going around here, but you see we changed quite a lot. This is the compositing of the entire scene. Nothing really fancy, but just some color corrections and adding up the passes together. So let's hit render and see how it looks. Select the node and hit render here, and it will output every frame until 240. So let's start the render and see how it looks.